All right, welcome to another episode of the Lockdown Podcast, continuing to pick apart Raw, SmackDown, a little bit of NXT just for funsies. Um, Crown Jewel is what we're working towards at this juncture. We're 2 weeks away from Crown Jewel, so one more episode before we hit Crown Jewel and talk about it the following. So I would say we have a lot to get to, but always never seems like enough time to get to it. So Raw kicks off this week again with Cody Rhodes and Seth Rollins basically exchanging not so pleasantries about their match at Crown Jewel, and I've deduced that I don't think the Crown Jewel Championship is not like the winner of the Crown Jewel the previous year is not the one defending the belt. I feel like it is a basically whoever are the champions at the time, they fight for the belt, or which actually is more or less just the ring. So I think that's kind of what they're doing with this Crown Jewel Championship. It is not a matter of champion, whoever was the previous versus whoever, because that wouldn't make sense. Because you could have basically a triple threat at that point, and that's not what they feel like they want to do. So that's kind of how I've deduced. Um, but yeah, so we get this another match with Penta and the War Raiders versus New Day and Grayson Waller. The only change this time around was the no disqualification, which really didn't entertain much in the match, I guess you could say. Um, but I don't like that they're giving Penta L's as a singles competitor and they're giving him W's when it comes to him being in a tag team setting.
Mm.
It
There's
doesn't make
there's there's probably a pattern there, in
yeah,
the sense that if he can't get it done as a singles wrestler, but he can get it done as in a tag team, maybe they're starting to plant seeds of having him reunite with his brother to form the Lucha Bros, and go after tag team gold. Uh, Either way, I think Penta can tolerate losses. Um, as a singles competitor or as a tag team, and it doesn't mess with his aura, his mystique, his ability to entertain in the ring. It's the WWE recipe. It's just what they do. I mean, he can't run the entire table. He's not, this isn't the 90s and Goldberg. So um I don't mind. I don't mind, especially when they're entertaining matches and they tell a bigger story for the person who beats him.
yeah.
Uh,
And I think the segue to that us getting, Ray Phoenix and Penta back together. I think the segue only makes sense if Penta is in a rough spot and Ray Phoenix comes out to help him. I think that's
yeah.
pretty much the trope, the recipe, the basically the normal way of doing things that WWE has done for decades. Um, so I feel like that's probably gonna. I mean, I think that's obviously, I would say, well down the road, but I feel like they're planting small seeds of that happening. So, um, so we get Stephanie Vaquera come out, basically, talk about being the champion and everything else, and basically waiting to who she's gonna face at Crown Jewel. Will it be the current champion Tiffany Stratton or Jade Cargill or Nia Jax? Obviously, we'll get to that match, but that was basically kind of the gist of her segment. So we've been seeing this split personality Bailey for maybe the past maybe month or two. And so Bailey has her match against Roxanne Perez, and obviously Raquel is ringside, and Lyra was ringside for Bailey. Now, Lyra ended up helping Bailey win the match, and she goes in the ring, goes to congratulate her, and Bailey flips like a light switch. And I really hope that they don't make this stupid and like really do something with it, because I feel like Bailey's been on this plateau track of her career for the past 3-4 years, it feels like. Um, and I hope this works in some capacity. Um, but WWE does have a nasty habit of killing storylines or killing characters off. Um,
That's definitely true.
yeah, and so what do you guys really think about, like, what do you think they're gonna do with like this whole Bailey and split personality thing? Like, do you see it going anywhere? Do you see like any potential for something? Like, what's your guys' thoughts?
I think it.
I don't see it going really anywhere.
Yeah, I don't see it. It's not interesting. It's not compelling to me. It's kind of like having a mid-career crisis. Um, Now, if she was like in contention for a belt, maybe, or championship, but right now because it's just Bailey by herself, I think they're just trying to do something interesting, or it's like an idea that she came up with, and everybody was like, "Yeah, that's cool. Let's run it and see how it goes." We may get it for a few weeks, like 4 to 6 weeks, um, and it might die off, or it might lead to like her versus Stephanie Vacour. Um, who knows? Who knows? But I don't
Yeah,
see it being like a high point in her career. I think it's just something, just an interesting side quest.
yeah. I don't think it really leads anywhere. Like, unless literally she just goes back to being like Hugger Bailey, which I think honestly would be terrible. Um, I think whatever she was doing before, with kind of being a bad guy, but not being like not the split personality nonsense. I think when Bailey was just being Bailey and Bailey was being frustrated and Bailey was doing whatever Bailey wanted to do. But like the second they flipped the script on her and all of a sudden she goes around hugging everybody, like I think that's
I know, yeah,
damaging.
she ran out of the ring, started hugging the freaking announcers.
Yeah, and I don't think it's a good move. I I just don't see this with any potential of going anywhere. But if WWE is like, "Hey, we want you to do this," she's like, "Well, I guess," you know.
Yeah, that
And
I
so,
mean,
like,
yeah,
like we've said a million times, like, "Hey, sometimes you just run with whatever they're going to tell you to do because you're still doing what you love." So, even if creative does a shitty job of, setting up this character or whatever else, so you just kind of go with the flow and hopefully something comes out on the other side. Um, so we've been seeing Rusev pretty much since he's gotten back, being definitely on the higher mid card, um, as far as the matches that he's been doing. I like that we're finally seeing him get into the title picture. So he beats JD McDonough this year, last week, and so somehow this weasels his way into a Intercontinental Championship spot on next Monday, or I guess technically tomorrow. I If Dominic wins this, I'm in this weird spot where what I think about Dominic, and if he wins, I actually would be okay with it. And I know that's weird for me to say because I'm kind of against Dominic, but I think he's really hitting his stride.
yeah, he's
Like I think that his ring IQ is very Eddie Guerrero-esque. I know there's that whole looming, he's your dad, blah blah blah. Like
Yeah,
I don't
he is getting the crowd behind him now.
yeah, and so you're seeing a complete change of pace, and so like the fans are the ones that gauge how good your character is, right? So the fact that like, even when he initially won the Intercontinental Championship, like he went back in the ring and because people were cheering.
yeah,
And so I think he's hitting his stride along with winning a AAA championship. Like you got to
Yeah,
give credit.
he was getting a chance at that too from the
So
audience.
so I think sometimes it takes a while, but I think that now like they're starting to see like the ring IQ, the way more polished wrestling. You're starting to see this turn from the crowd going from boos to cheers. And so you got to give respect where respect is due, because he's been working like literally since he's got to WWE. Like first it was the dad stuff, and then they drifted over the dad
Mhm.
stuff, and then there was kind of Judgment Day 2.0, and then now we're kind of in Judgment Day 3.0. And so like he's just been doing a good job, and like for me to say that, that's a lot. But
Right.
now, do I think he can beat Rusev straight up?
No,
Not a chance. Not a chance.
dude.
And the reason why I hope Rusev wins is because we're gonna get a run back with him and Sheamus. And Sheamus is basically had every championship except the Intercontinental. And so he's been chasing that Grand Slam for 8-10 years. So like it's been a long time. And if Rusev's champion, I feel like we might, finally pull the trigger on getting Sheamus the Intercontinental and completing the Grand Slam. Now, do I think it's going to happen right away?
No,
We've been waiting this long. But I think within the next 2 years, let's just go long. Let's just go real long term. But like, Sheamus will get that title. I don't know.
Yeah.
Like, it could be next WrestleMania. It could be next SummerSlam. We don't know. But like, if they don't pull the trigger on this and finally give him the damn IC, like, I don't know. Then there's nothing. There's really nothing left for Sheamus to do in WWE. He just needs that last title. And I don't think, if he doesn't win it, he's still a first ballot Hall of Famer. I wouldn't doubt that for a second. But like, being a Grand Slam champion is something special. So, but we'll wait and see what happens with the Rusev and Dominic Mysterio match tomorrow, and I guess we'll go from there. But so we've been having what I call creative lack of. Jey Uso faces off against LA Knight. Wow, we haven't seen this book before. We haven't seen this comic strip before. It's getting to the point where it's Jimmy Uso, Jey Uso, LA Knight, Bronson Reed, and Braun Breaker in basically a smorgasbord and
Hmm.
a buffet of who you want to pick to face one of them. And like, is creative just lost their creativity?
I think it's
Like,
what gets approved.
I mean,
But I don't, we don't know what stories get approved, what they want to showcase on that TV taping. So it's like they just keep recycling it because it's safe. I kind of want something different. Like, next week outside of what's been announced, I want something different. Like, I don't necessarily want to see LA Knight and Jey Uso again, but I wouldn't be upset or disappointed if I saw like Jey Uso versus, Bronson Reed or Braun Breaker, and, you know, LA Knight versus someone else. I wouldn't mind seeing different people versus different people, as instead of like week 3 of Jey Uso versus, LA Knight.
well,
It's just getting fucking boring as hell.
well,
Make me not want to watch Raw.
and the thing that's stupid about it is that, like, you know in Survivor Series past, you've had builds to building a 5-man team for a Survivor Series War Games match. But like we could already predict right now what War Games is going to be, and that's 2 months away. We could have predicted it 3 weeks ago, and that'd have been 4 months. It's so stupid that normally you have these builds to like these matchups that are going to be at Survivor Series War Games, and it feels like Frederick said, they're being safe right now, and it's like pull the trigger on something different. Like I get it. You want this faction to be over, and I get it. But like to shove it down our throats every freaking week in every freaking city, people are like, wow, this again? Like, it's just like eating leftovers for weeks in over a month, probably. Like, I love me some good leftovers, but I'm not going to eat something that's been 3 or 4 weeks old because that's bad.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I'm all for the WWE being safe, but like you could have them not on a week. Like I don't care if they want to come out and interject in a match or something, but don't put them in matches. If you want to like have them rough up Cody Rhodes, like you've been doing it for umpteen weeks. Like I get it. The story is they want to soften him up for Seth Rollins at Crown Jewel. I get it. But it's like usually that's something they do like the week before, and then they're like, "Oh, I don't know if he's 100%."
Right.
You know.
Yep.
But when it's every freaking week, like, and it's the same promos by Cody, it's the same thing Cody's been doing literally since he's been back. Is, oh well, if you want some, come get some, basically, and then he gets beat up, and then someone come and helps him out. And it's the same recycled lasagna, the same layers over and over and over again. Like I'm not entertained. Like
I'm not either because it's getting boring. I'm just saying, say if they came to Grand Rapids and
I mean,
and if Bronson Reed and Braun Breaker came out and Jimmy and all those guys are out there, my ass is getting up to go and get food. I'm getting sick of seeing that crap.
yeah, I mean it's. I don't like the direction that they're going because it's literally just giving us the same women in matches, the same guys in matches, like no crossovers of anything going on. It's just like 2 straight lines and just the same thing. Like at what point in time do they like switch it up? I'm over it. But anywho, so the main event of the evening was Rhea Ripley versus Asuka. Obviously, it was, the typical segment at the beginning of the show that leads to, the end of the night match. Rhea does obviously beat Asuka, but obviously Asuka missed her after the match, and Kairi Sane, bless her little heart, just kind of does what Asuka tells her to do, and either she's the greatest actor or she just kind of fears Asuka or something.
She's
like
really portraying like, I don't want to make Asuka mad at me,
Yeah, I mean her facial expressions are like one of absolute fright.
Yeah.
And so Io Sky decides to come help Rhea, and basically ends up getting her butt kicked as well, which I'm glad they finally pulled the trigger on this, because this has been going on for like months, where you have Asuka and Kairi Sane like interjecting when anybody wants to talk to Io Sky, and it's like, Damage Control's been over for like 6 months, guys. Like, move on.
You know, I think they've moved on from Damage Control, but I think because everybody that was in Damage Control is in the ring and it kind of got beef right now. I think this is refreshing because we get to see, we get to see villain Asuka as opposed to like kind of neutral Asuka do her thing.
Yeah.
I think this is going to give Io and Asuka some good story stuff, and again, I've said it before. I think we're starting to see like the slowdown of Asuka's career, and moving possibly into a part-time role. And I think it's good for her. She's given a lot to the WWE and to professional wrestling. So this is where she wants to go, and she's leading that charge with this. Yeah, let's have some fun. Maybe this is the fun that we get, and it just looks really like, really brutal, really bad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, and I think that's honestly, well said.
Yeah.
I think sometimes when people are at the tail end of their career, especially, when you're 40 in wrestling, that's like 60 to a normal person. And, it's like wrestling years are different than us normies when it comes to our years of life. Because these people put their body on the absolute line 3-4 nights a week.
Mhm.
I mean, it's like you have nothing but respect for the entertainment and the dedication and the literally putting their bodies through it, man.
Yeah.
And so yeah, man, if this is kind of her subtle way of like kind of easing her way down, like that makes sense. But like my only issue is like, what do you do with Kyrie Sane if she doesn't have Asuka?
You
Like,
know, I think Kyrie is very good as a singles wrestler, but also too at the same time, I would not be surprised if Kyrie retires again and goes back home to Japan. Um, I would not be surprised. We hear years down the road, oh, Asuka asked me to come back. I was happy in Japan, but it's Asuka and that's my girl, so I came back, for another
yeah,
run, with Asuka. So I don't have a problem with both Asuka and Kyrie just saying like, all right, we're gonna go home and
yeah,
have some fun and just be retired. Io she always has had the vibe of I can do this by myself,
yeah,
and I'll be good, So
yeah,
yeah, let's just wait and see. Let's just have some fun, and if that's what it's going to be, then that's what it's going to be.
yeah. And I don't think we understand I don't know what the term is, but like the sacrifice that some of these wrestlers across the pond have made. I mean, you have Drew McIntyre, you have Gunther, you have Asuka, Kairi Sane, Io Sky, Rhea Ripley. I mean, the wrestling roster is from all over. And, I think we don't understand the sacrifice that they do. And obviously they sacrifice to get into the business. And, it's not for everyone, obviously. And so like you kind of tip your hat, like regardless of how it plays out, like, hey, thanks for those 10 years. Thanks for those 15 years. Like, especially like NXT fans, like because it's always been kind of centrally located. And so they're like NXT fans are just a whole different breed just because they're very invested in NXT because NXT is literally in like essentially like the PC. So it's like, you have the show played out for, 1,000 people, we'll call it, if that even. And so like what Asuka meant to NXT, is also great. And so yeah, I mean, you just tip your hat. But so we go over to SmackDown and so again, this is why I say like Cody's promos are predictable, but so Cody comes out, starts yammering Paul Heyman obviously comes out and he's yammering, and you obviously get the emergence of Braun Breaker and Bronson Reed. Again, no real surprise. It's leftover chili, man. And so, but obviously at this juncture, obviously we get the help from one Randy Orton, which I love. And I think same thing with like Randy Orton, like he's already done everything. And so like he's having fun. Like
Yeah.
whatever capacity he wants to be in, you're just going to let him do what he wants. Like he's probably one of the longest tenure wrestlers on the roster,
Pretty much.
because him and John Cena came up together, but Randy never left for Hollywood. He did like one small role in like a WWE film, but like Randy's been through it and he's stuck it out, and he hasn't left for Hollywood, which I have a huge amount of respect for, because I'm sure he had offers,
Well, he probably does. He probably gets offers like
you
crazy.
know. And so like Randy's going to be around as long as Randy wants, because it doesn't matter what he does, as long as he can give someone an RKO. I'm happy, the fans are happy, my kids are happy, and everyone's happy because someone bit the Viper and he bit back and you got RKO'd. And the RKO is the most beautiful move in sports entertainment. Like, so
He's the only one said you already had the announcing of AJ Styles that's retiring next year, and
yeah.
you have Cena's retiring, and you have Orton that said, "I am not fucking leaving."
Yeah. I mean, he was out for, almost a year and a half with his back injury. So like,
Yeah,
obviously he had plenty of time to spend time with the wife and kids and everything. But, so Mello Don't Miz, aka Carmelo Hayes, and The Miz, have been having these weird tag matches where Carmelo Hayes goes to do his finisher and The Miz comes in and basically steals the thunder. And so they're facing off against the Street Profits. And so Carmelo Hayes goes to get on the top rope to hit his finisher. And The Miz gets in there. And then all of a sudden, The Miz tries to go in and do his thing. And Carmelo Hayes grabs his arm and he's like, not twice. And so that obviously leads to a whole slew of things going on. Street Profits end up getting the win, which I love the Street Profits. I don't need BFAB out there. I don't need that. She's a good background character. Like, I like what she's doing with Michin, kind of hanging out there, because the Street Profits don't need no manager. So I look forward to what they're going to do with the Street Profits. This was supposedly a segue to getting a match versus the Wyatt Six.
Yeah.
Nothing confirmed, but yeah. So
it
like,
might be. It might be at Crown Jewel. Who knows?
yeah.
I can
Okay.
see it.
It actually does say they, as a result, Montez Ford and Angel Dawkins become the number one contenders for the tag team championships. Okay, so that does get them, but it doesn't say when they're going to face them. Could be
Yeah.
next week. Maybe they'll put it on Crown Jewel. Highly unlikely, but I've seen weirder. But so Julia has been the women's United States Championship for, I don't know, 2-3 months. I don't know.
I think it's
And
3 months.
this has been the most lackluster championship run for a women's secondary title that I've seen. She's barely defending it. Now she's in a tag match with her quote unquote manager, Kiana James, which kind of just showed up one day on the main roster, like no real info on anything, just kind of shows up. And most people didn't know who she was. Obviously, I do, being that I feel like I'm the NXT expert on the show. But so I know more about who comes to the main roster than most people do. But I encourage you to watch all the product if you want to. But so Julia and Kiana James obviously defeat Michin and B-Fab in honestly a decent match. I mean, not a lot of glitz and glamour, but like we need to start seeing Julia defend her title more.
I think we
I
will if we got to get something, and maybe they're leading Julia and Kiana James to having a match. It'll take a few more weeks, but it'll be something that will happen. But in the short term, um, Julia having a, a a mouthpiece with Kiana James, I think is fine. I've not seen Kiana James wrestle, so I don't know what her in-ring skills are. But if it gives both of them something to do, all right, cool, fine, whatever.
Yeah, I mean, Kiana James was more of a group performer in NXT, so she really didn't do too much single wise. So she works well in a group. I honestly, she still can function in a singles capacity, but like with how the roster is now, I see where she's at is a fitting spot just to be under the tutelage of Michin, or not Michin, sorry, um, of Julia, who's obviously a veteran of the business as a whole. And so I think let her soak up some knowledge. And I think there's a lot of that going on in WWE right now. And on the surface, most people don't really see it. Kind of like the Carmelo Hayes and the Miz thing. You had the Carmelo Hayes um, just kind of soak up on the knowledge tree from the Miz. I mean, you had Tommaso Ciampa do the same thing with the Miz, and so like, I love the veterans, you know, taking a step back and just trying to really invest in the future of the business, because we need it. Like there's a fine line between doing matches for 600 to 1,000 people versus 60 to 70,000 people. So you know you gotta
Agree.
knock out some cobwebs and knock off the dust, because like you look, I mean, like when we went to WrestleMania, that is a huge ass crowd, and
Huge ass crowd at a huge ass stadium.
like there's gonna be those jitters because it is a big step.
Right.
So but I like that veterans are doing that, and again, unbeknownst to most people, it is going on. It's just a lot of the stuff is behind the scenes with obviously the more retired veterans. But like I love that WWE is full of like retired talent that are still working in back and working in creative and working with performers and everything else, because they have 30, 40 years of wrestling knowledge, and it's good that we invest in the future. Um so Drew McIntyre comes out in his boot because he's injured. Um, which I always love the kayfabe injuries, but and so he's just bitching. Like Drew McIntyre is the biggest crybaby I've ever seen in the last 10 years of watching professional wrestling. Like it's always someone else's fault, and obviously that's the character. That's not him as an individual. Like he's doing what he's told, and he's running with what he wants, what they want him to run with. And I love that, like, out of anybody that could come from the back and say and step to Drew McIntyre and say anything to Drew McIntyre, the reemergence of Jacob Fatu.
Love it.
And
Love it. 10
and
out of 10.
and yeah, and so like I love that Jacob is now stepping away from the solo BS stuff and like interjecting himself into new storylines.
Yeah.
So I like that sense of creativity out of WWE creative. I like that. I like when you can move a wrestler on to something different. Especially the talent of Jacob Fatu. And I really hope that they let him cook. And they let's start throwing just anybody at him. Jacob Fatu get your ass kick open challenge, like just
That would be
That'd be awesome.
and
Yeah.
so I and he's so good on the mic because he doesn't have to like have these elaborate anything. It is just he's just himself. Like I think rarely like you can see that there's a little bit of truth to how someone's talking and behaving, because as the fans we can point out fraud, right? And so I love that Jacob Fatu is just doing Jacob Fatu things. And
Yeah.
I, chalk it up at least to creative. I'll give creative a little bit of credit, for more SmackDown stuff that's been getting better versus Raw. But
definitely.
so you're starting to see kind of SmackDown be more of a flagship than Raw has been for 30, 40 years. So it's I don't know how the Raw is the flagship show and you've been kind of fumbling with it, but so Sami Zayn gives another United States Open Challenge match, and I would have not predicted this person, but it was Javon Evans from NXT, and they call him the young OG. And because he picked up the business fast, like his what he can do in that ring for only being maybe, I think he's been on NXT for maybe a couple years, and what you've seen on SmackDown was exactly how good he is. And obviously Sami Zayn won.
It was a
Obviously
good match.
he was going to win.
Right.
But like, what a moment for Javon Evans to be able to come to SmackDown, see a different side other than, like you said, a couple hundred people, and just to see what's cooking in NXT. Because like, if you don't watch it, like, again, these people are just like foreign to you, right? Like,
Right.
and so, but like for me who watches all the product, because I love to see what's cooking, as far as down in NXT, and like when they get that main roster call up, I'm like, all right, what are they going to do with this guy? But it's like to everybody else, he's like, who's this guy? And
Yeah.
I honestly, it's not for everybody, but like I really do encourage people to watch.
As I say, when
Like all the brands.
when the new talents come up, I know where they're from. I know they're from NXT, and they're coming up to the main roster for a good reason.
Yeah. And I don't know I don't know if they're gonna do a draft. I feel like they've kind of done away.
If they do, it's usually in November.
Well, and
November
I
or
say,
January.
yeah, and I say I don't know if they're going to, is because we've seemed to have drifted away from a brand split. And obviously it's more storyline based when they do kind of the crossovers, but I feel like I don't know really how to put it, but like it makes it interesting, I guess. But like with some things, like with the Bronson Reed and Braun Breaker stuff, it's kind of repetitive, and it takes away from other storylines being able to get built. But like I feel like the brand split, like it's just kind of gone now. And because obviously with the championships, they're not a Raw championship, they're not a SmackDown championship. They're literally just listed as regular championships like they were before. Because because for that, like the last like 10 years we had the Raw tag team, the SmackDown, they were definitive of what they were. Now they've dropped all the names to everything, so it's just the World Heavyweight, the Undisputed, it's the Intercontinental, it's the United States, like you have the World Tag Team, you have the other tag teams, like, and so like I'm glad they've done away with that,
Right.
because now you can really have that freedom to bounce around shows and not have it seem kind of silly.
And maybe that's just been the plan, as always, is to just have them change
back
over.
in.
Yeah. So WWE versus World Championship or Undisputed, whatever they want to, however they want to cut it. So yeah, you know what? Fine. Let's go. Let's go. Let's do this.
Right. Yeah. So the main event on SmackDown was Tiffany Stratton versus Jade Cargill and Nia Jax,
Ooh.
aka Botcher Extraordinaire. This match was just a mess. Like
I thought it was boring as fuck.
I don't know how. Like, this match was literally just fumble after fumble after fumble after fumble, miscues after miscues after miscues, people getting legitimately hurt, people not,
People are getting hurt because Nia Jax is unsafe to be wrestled with.
yeah. I and this is where I go back to say that basically if you're part of the bloodline, you basically just kind of are able to stay around no matter what it seems like, and it's becoming just bloodline business, and it doesn't matter what you do, you basically get to stay. And
You know,
but
yeah.
like Nia Jax is just unsafe, and she's not a good wrestler, and it's how many times is she gonna hurt someone before they be like, dude, you need to go.
I mean, if they felt that she was unsafe, they would not have brought her back and celebrated her the way that they did when they brought her back. Do I think accidents happened? Yeah. I looked at the match and looked at where Jade got hurt, and from what I can tell, um, that could have happened to anyone. I don't think Jade got her arm up high enough to block the edge of the steps, but I also too think that that spot could have been done more safely. Like instead of aiming down, like grabbing her and throwing Jade into the
Well,
steps the way she did, it could have worked out where
she pushed
she
her
gets
low.
slammed. Yeah, and rightfully so. And I think with Jade, being pushed low, she didn't get her arm up. Again, it could have been happening anywhere, and we can take it. Like, the pros and cons is Nia a safe worker? Did Jade, not protect herself? Could that spot have been done differently? It's almost in the same vein as when Braun Breaker a few months ago ran and charged himself into the edge of the announce table, missing Kaiser. Ludwig Kaiser, maybe 6 or 7 months ago.
Yeah.
I never want to see that spot again. I think that spot, when done correctly, I think Jade could have, like, normally when we see someone get thrown into the steps at that angle, the guys like
It's
hit
higher.
it and they
It's higher. Their
but they
hands
also
are up here. Like, it's
their hands push the steps off to make it more dramatic. I think Jade didn't get her hands up, and I think Nia didn't help with that spot. I also too think the follow-up to that spot where Nia like slams Jade into the steps, I don't think that should have been necessary. She should have saw that she was legitimately broken open, and just taunted,
well,
and
yeah.
let it go and let medical like take care of her.
Yeah,
But
she could have pushed her. She could have pushed her aside. Like, she could have been like, "Go to do it," and then all of a sudden she's like, "I don't want it," and just tossed her.
Yep. And then
And
put her in a position so medical can see her. That would have been the mark of like someone caring for another person, and that would have been a veteran move. You know what I'm saying? Like an established, like 20+ year veteran move. I think it was just the two botches that people are talking about with the ref. I think that's a reprimandable thing. but not in the sense of you need to lose your job or you can't be on TV.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
that's more so like the head of refs coming to you is like, hey, I know you knew what the call, you knew what the call was, but hey, if she don't get her arm up, call it right then and there
Yeah.
and just deal with it. We've seen refs make that mistake before in other promotions and in the WWE, but I don't think it's anything that someone needs to lose their job for or
Yeah, there
anything like
was a
that. Yeah.
lot of stuff on about her losing her job, and I'm just like, it's unfortunate, and to the majority of the crowd, they didn't even see it.
Right.
So I mean, but Nia just didn't do anything to like motion anything, and again, like mistakes happen, like that. This is a one shot and done. These matches, they're not doing multiple takes. They're not doing like, and so like I get it to a certain extent, but like she might as well have just like counted it and been done.
Yeah.
Like and and
Yeah. I,
and, and
I, I
because
think in
they did
hindsight, yeah.
they did because they did the same thing with Gunther and Randy Orton. And
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
so like I feel like you should have just let it be, and then them bend in your ear, but like, if you counted the three and just let it be. And then to like have Nia like kick out like at a random like after like 3 or 4 seconds, I'm like, you kind of missed your spot there, sweetheart.
Yeah. And then
Um,
Nia was being not that was pretty bitchy of Nia to do. In the sense of like,
I know
what
she rolled over and started bitching at the referee.
And whatever, it's like everybody's gonna have something to say about it and have their opinion. My opinion is that Nia's antics after the missed or after the botched count was unnecessary. Just like I think Nia, carrying on after knowing Jade was busted open and bleeding. Um, unless Jade called for it, continue the spot, or something like that. I think Nia was the problem in the match, but it's not. It's a reprimandable thing, but it's not like you lose your job. It wasn't. I don't think it was done out of malice, but it sure did not look like it was done on the part of the script, part of the show.
yeah,
So a ref missing a count. I mean, of all the things that had went wrong in that match, I'm not. you know, you'll get chewed out and you more than likely won't do it again. But Nia and Jade, that whole spot, that definitely just needs to. There are definitely some lessons to be learned with that.
yeah,
If you want to be in this business, you take care of each other. And that was a moment that Nia could have taken care of Jade, and she didn't. And she didn't take care of the ref with the crap afterwards. And I'm glad that, Nia took the fall.
yeah,
Nia lost the match. I'm
yeah,
glad Jade will get help and she'll be taken care of. Um, and Tiffany can now go on and defend and yeah, but
yeah. And I think that like with what happened, I feel like the typical WWE recipe, the trope, the story they're gonna do, and I'm gonna
mhm.
call my shot now
All right.
on September 28th of 2025. That I'm gonna call my shot is that we're gonna get Jade and Nia Jax run it back, and that will be a number one contenders match. It's gonna get ran back, and we're gonna get that at like Survivor Series. And I think
It-
that's gonna how it's gonna go. And I say Jade gets her revenge on Nia Jax, maybe bust her open as a receipt, and wins the number one contender for Tiffany Stratton, and let's say face that Royal Rumble. That's my maybe I'm giving a spoiler, but like
mhm.
that's kind of how I think that this particular story is gonna go.
I I if Jade is not running off to shoot a movie, I can see that playing out some way, somehow. But if she isn't running off to shoot a movie, Jade is going to be out for a little bit because that she got busted open to the white meat. I'm sorry, folks. I mean, I saw the picture that Jade posted, and you can damn near see her skull. So that is something that definitely needs to be looked at by incredible Hollywood professionals that do plastic surgery and fix that. It goes straight through her eyebrow, and and you know what? I could see why people would want to have Nia fired after that, because it was like a very big gash. So if Jade isn't off to shoot a movie, she's still gonna have time off. Could I see both Nia and Jade running it back? Yeah. Could I see a receipt? I probably could, but I don't know. I don't even know what happened backstage. If if Jade said, "Hey, that was me. That was all me. I made the mistake. I didn't put my hands up or whatever have you."
We don't see
Or
behind the curtain.
yeah, or Nia said like, "I fucked up. Excuse my language. I messed up. I didn't pull her up. We continued on with the spot. Is she okay?" And and really like say, "Hey, I messed up. I should have, pulled you up a little bit higher or whatever have you." And they work it out. And it was a simple, it was a miscommunication. But yeah, that was just a gnarly injury.
Yeah. So I want to touch for a second. We don't normally talk about NXT. But I have some concerns in regards to NXT creative. So we had a match with Sol Ruka versus Jada Parker. And so Sol Ruka is a two belt champion right now with the Speed Championship and the Women's North American Championship.
Okay.
And I know they've done away with the men's Speed Championship, and I feel like they need to do away with it on the women's side too and just be done with it. Now, so Sol Ruka faced off against Jada Parker for the Speed Championship. And no one cares. Like, the Speed Championship is something you defend on Twitter, okay? Now, she's also the North American Championship, which you're on a PLE called No Mercy, and you defend a title that doesn't matter. That boggles my mind, because if you wanted to have a 5-minute match, at least have it be for the proper championship. No one gives a crap about the Speed Championships. No one really, I mean, the 24/7 was literally just pure entertainment. It didn't mean anything. And to put a nonsensical title on the line doesn't make any damn sense to me, because it's a PLE. If this was just an NXT taping, an NXT show, go ahead, do that. But to put it on a PLE doesn't make a bit of sense to me. Now, another one I kind of want to scroll over, I guess, is the fact that Ricky Saints, a.k.a. Ricky Starks, defeats Obafemi for the men's NXT championship.
I'm happy about it.
So this is how I view it, and this is how really the recipes and the tropes go, is that when a top tier wrestler loses the one of the NXT championships, and Obafemi's on fire, by the way, because he's been knocking down everybody, and to get beat by Ricky Saints, I shrug. Like it's like a David versus Goliath situation, and obviously, like, I get the matchup, but like, this just makes me believe that Obafemi is on the rise to the main roster
Oh, I think so
Yeah.
too.
because we don't have too many monsters on the main roster anymore. You got rid of Braun Strowman. Heck, you got rid of the Good Brothers. I mean, you've gotten rid of so many big wrestlers. We're basically left now with essentially the Wyatt Six, and that's about the extent, of the talent as far as like the big guys.
Right.
And so I feel like this is a subtle hint to Obafemi working his way to the main roster. Whether this would be maybe Sami Zayn's open challenge, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe this is a slow work towards maybe him coming to Royal Rumble. But I feel like he's on his way to the main roster.
Yeah, surprisingly
And
enough, he's on his way to the main roster, but Trick Williams is still kind of swirling around this NXT versus TNA type stuff. And of
yeah,
all the people that should be on his way to the main roster, it should have been Trick Williams.
yeah.
I mean,
And
yeah.
and like the problem is with Trick Williams is that he doesn't stand out to me in the sense of he works within the confines of NXT. And when he's done like gone to the TNA shows and stuff like that, which are obviously bigger than NXT, like Trick doesn't really like seem like he still has like the it factor to move to the main roster. And it's not that he's not a phenomenal wrestler, and obviously like the best thing was when him and Carmelo Hayes split and everything else, and he started doing his singles run. And he's great in NXT right now. I just like basically talking from like a big man status is that like WWE main roster needs another
They need
monster.
they need more bigger superstars, big
Yeah.
monsters.
And not that Trick isn't on his way, but like I feel like him being the TNA, champion or whatever, like, and then he's always on NXT.
Mhm.
And he basically said he wanted to be very minimal on TNA, which doesn't make much sense to me because you want to see your champion. I don't know. I just feel like Obafemi is better than Trick Williams in a shorter period of time, and I feel like the main roster just needs a big guy.
I can't argue with that.
Same here.
Now I also don't watch the NXT product. Yeah, maybe we'll get Obafemi a lot sooner than the Royal Rumble.
Yeah, and
Yeah,
I don't know how they're gonna creatively work it out. But like I just feel like he's on the rise, and I look forward to him on the main roster because he's gonna be a threat.
They better not add him to Seth's team.
Oh no, that ain't happening.
If they do, I'll be pissed.
Obafemi is all about himself. He don't need no faction. That would be doing more detriment to him than anything. So
It's WWE.
yeah.
yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
but you could also, you could also go along the lines of maybe sticking him with Street Profits. But I mean, in basically kind of be a New Day kind of mentality. But like I see him wrestling. I don't see him like tagging along with people. He's a massive guy, dude. He's like 6'8", like 300 something pounds. Like, this dude's gonna be single competitor through and through. He ain't factioning up because he has that it factor. He has the presence that like it's a once in every like maybe 5-10 years kind of talent where you like look at him and you're like, this guy's got it. Like, he won. So his whole trail to the whole thing was he won the breakout tournament. And then he went, and instead of cashing in to go for a main title because he could go for whatever championship he wanted. And then he goes after then he wins the North American, has that one for quite some time, and ends up losing that, but then goes on to the venture of the top, NXT championship. And so that's basically what he's done in a really maybe 2-year time frame. And his presence alone, just like his music hits, and it's just like it's that real like African tribe kind of like warrior mentality that he has. And so I honestly just think he'd be a good addition. But
Yeah.
so Crown Jewel Perth. It's kind of interesting to say Crown Jewel's not a Riyadh show, but it's presented by Riyadh, but not in Riyadh. So the 3 matches we have right now are Cody versus Seth Rollins, obviously for the Crown Jewel Championship match. Same thing with Tiffany Stratton and Stephanie McIntyre. And so, yeah, now that I'm actually kind of reading how it is, literally that's just what it is. Like I talked about before with the champions face obviously for that, honor, I guess you could say, and then you get the little ring for it or whatever. Because obviously Tiffany Stratton versus Stephanie McIntyre for the Crown Jewel Championship match, that's, Liv was the champion, so that kind of leads me to believe that's how they're going to do it. So, and then you have John Cena versus AJ Styles, which this is a handpicked match. There's no story to this. There's just history, and this is what WWE has been doing at these bigger money shows. Is they give the people that are paying the bill what they want.
Yeah.
And I'm okay with it. Honestly, I think John Cena and AJ Styles will be a phenomenal match. Way freaking better than Brock Lesnar and John Cena, because that wasn't a match. That was a mauling. and so, but
Yeah.
good on John Cena for taking it on the chin. Obviously John Cena has a lot of health things going on. So, I mean, it's this farewell is a legit farewell. It's not I'm going to come back in, a bunch of years. Like I believe it was like skin cancer or something like that.
It was skin cancer.
And so, he's got a different journey ahead beyond wrestling. So, that's that. But, yeah, that's all I got. Unless you guys got something else you want to talk about.
Not really.
No, you covered it all. Congratulations. Well done.
I just know John Cena's the
Yeah.
one that pushed this to get the AJ Styles one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I know it
I
pissed
mean,
Triple H off.
Well, I mean, I don't know what Triple H is doing.
Yeah, I was gonna say Cena's the one that pretty much said he's gonna take control over how his farewell tour goes.
Yeah, they kind of screwed him on that with not having his last one being Boston, Mass. So
That's fine because it was at a Saturday night main event. I think it was stupid.
yeah, I don't know. I think they they needed to set aside their personal differences and let him go out how he wants to go.
I think his last match, what I saw,
I think it was. You said it was like January.
It was in January. I think it was at Madison Square Garden.
Yeah, that's a good way to go out. Yeah.
Still not a bad way to go out. But
no, not at all. Not at all. I mean, it just depends on who he's performing against. I mean, if
I went to their website and looked up I was seeing if they're coming back to Grand Rapids at all, and I seen all the way to January and stuff, and it showed him at some of these shows, and it looked like the last one was Madison Square Garden for him. But I think it was a pay-per-view. I think it was.
Yeah, it's against his brother.
PLE.
Yeah, he's gonna face off against his brother Ron Cena. I mean, that sounds like a good way to go.
Put over your brother. That's all I can say. Put over your brother.
Yeah, your younger brother.
Yep. Your younger, older brother. Wow.
Yeah, I don't know, dude. You know, R-Truth is a gem.
Yep. 10 out of 10.
He is a WWE gem. So, but yeah, we'll put a pin in this as we do, and we will be back next week to continue to rant on about all the nonsense. And I probably won't even change my hashtag because I still feel the same next week probably. So,
Yeah.
but this is the Lockdown Podcast. Peace.